Welcome back to DSR, and we're going to dive back into some content from Comrade Warner's. He does really great stuff, and as long as he continues to do so, I'll keep covering his stuff. And this one's going to be a wizard subclass called the Augmenter wizard, with another piece of art by Corey McNaught. Fantastic stuff. I think, honestly, I think some of these partners who produce D&D content, or even WotC themselves, should snatch both of these guys up, because Corey's art is better than a lot of partners' art, and Comrade Warner's content and mechanics and unique ideas around mechanics is better than what most partner content creators put out. So if you're listening, hire these two dudes before somebody else does. And here we have the art in full view. Very sweet. This is like a gnome wizard in some kind of castle tower. Maybe it's his own. This is his wizard tower. And he's got a couple of moats floating around him. So conveys the idea really quickly there. And then down to the text, we have the stuff that Comrade Warner's has written. And one of the things I love about what he writes is that he does a lot in a few words, right? Like this one might be one of his longest subclasses, and it's like a page and a half total. And it might even be less than that if you removed all the art. Okay, so I greatly appreciate that as a DM, and especially the fact that I'm trying to like include all this partner content in my games. The more content I allow, that's more stuff I have to keep track of, and keeping it short and simple but highly impactful and interesting is perfect. Augmenter, shapers of arcane potential. Augmenters crystallize their own spell energy into arcane motes. These motes appear as shimmering spheres of power that orbit the wizard. Expending a mote rewrites a spell from its original purpose. Unlike specialist wizards that focus on one school, Augmenters seek to enhance all schools of magic. And when I first read this and first saw that image, I thought, oh, is this going to be like just a wizard that uses meta magic? The answer is no. It's actually quite different and unique in its own way. So level 3, arcane augmentation, and this is our key feature. You create magical motes of arcane power. You have a pool of 2 arcane motes. You regain all expended motes when you finish a long rest, and you regain 1 expended mote when you finish a short rest. When you cast a spell at first level higher, you can spend arcane motes to augment it. In addition, you can expend a spell slot to gain a number of arcane motes equal to the slot's level. No action required. Motes gained in this way last until they're depleted or you finish a long rest. And note that it says you expend a spell slot to gain a number of motes. It doesn't say regain, which means you can go over the 2 mote limit this way, which makes sense because there's things where you'd spend like 2 or even 4 motes on a single spell, and you couldn't do that unless you could go above the 2. And this is how you go above the 2, by expending spell slots. So there's a trade-off there, which is great. Yes, there's a little bit of similarities to what the sorcerers are doing with meta magic, but this is still mechanically different enough that it doesn't just feel samesies. These motes shed dim light in a 10-foot radius. As a bonus action, you can move any of your arcane motes up to 30 feet away from you within a range of 60 feet, and you can extinguish or restore their light at will, no action required. Spend 1 arcane mote to apply one of the following effects to your spell. I love this little ribbon here that they basically functions like a dancing lights mote. And that's a cool little ribbon, right? So you can just always have these motes flying around you, and you basically always have at least dim light going all the time. And your Twilight Sanctuary Cleric may actually appreciate that. Or sorry, it's called the Twilight Cleric, but let's be honest, your main feature is Twilight Sanctuary. All right, so then here's our options for spending these motes on a spell. Expansive casting. When you cast a spell that creates an area of effect, you can increase one dimension of the spell's area of effect by 10, such as the radius of a sphere, the width of a cone, or the length of a line. That's very similar to circle casting in how that's written. So I think that's cool. Fundamental shift. When you cast a spell that deals damage, the spell's damage type changes to necrotic, psychic, or radiant damage, your choice. Also, you can add your intelligence modifier to that spell's damage against one of the spell's targets. So I like that this is kind of similar to transmute meta magic, but it's very different damage types, right? Necrotic, psychic, or radiant, those are not damage types that are available to transmute. And so they're, remain different features, and I like it. This one also increases the damage, but only against one target. A nice little additional enhancement that is very much controlled, right? If this just added your intelligence modifier to all of the damage, I would think that this one feature would be overpowered, right? Then I would say it should probably be 2 features, 2 separate augmentations, where either you change the damage type or you add your intelligence modifier to all of the damage. Yeah, nice and clean. Tactical advantage. After casting a spell, choose another creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself. that creature has advantage or disadvantage on your choice on all attack rolls it makes until the start of your next turn. And it says another creature, so you can't use it on yourself, is how I would take that, which is cool. So a bit of a support or control feature. Enduring Magic, when you cast a spell that requires concentration, damage can't break your concentration on the spell until the end of your next turn. Okay, that's cool. Focused Casting, when you cast a spell that can be cast with a higher level spell slot to target one or more additional creatures, instead, you can focus its energy on a single target in one of the two ways, depending on if they are your enemy or ally. So if they are an enemy, for each additional creature the spell could have targeted, if upcast, the spell's save DC increases by 1 for this casting to a maximum of +3. Ally, the spell's duration is multiplied. Its duration becomes the normal duration times the total number of creatures it could have targeted if upcast. All right, so this one I think is cool and straightforward. It's kind of like the inverse of twinned meta magic. And it takes, for me, I had to think about it a little bit. So I'll just explain this one a little bit more. The way it works is, yes, you upcast the spell by expending a higher level spell slot, but instead of targeting more creatures, it makes the spell more potent for one creature. So let's say you cast Tasha's Hideous Laughter on at third level, and you want to use focus casting on that one target. So you're still going to only target one, not 3 creatures, but that one target. For that one target, the spell save DC is going to be increased by 2, right? Because we upcast it 2 levels, so it's now the spell save DC is now 2 higher. So this is great if you really need to land it on that one target, and then do this, right? You need to control that one target. I don't know, it's the boss of the fight or something like that, or it's like spellcaster in the back row, and you really need to lock that thing down. You don't care so much if you like hit a few minions as well. Focus casting on that one target, increase the DC. If you cast Touch the City's Laughter at 4th level, then the DC would increase by 3, right? Similarly, works the same as an ally, or similar to for allies. Let's say you're casting, haste can't be upcast to target more creatures. Heroism, there you go. Heroism is a buff spell that can target more creatures if you upcast it. Cast at level 1, it targets 1 creature. Cast at level 2, it targets 2 creatures. Cast at level 3, it's 3 creatures, right? Okay, so you're going to cast Heroism on an ally, but you're going to focus cast it on that ally. If you cast it at 3rd level, Heroism's normal duration is 1 minute, if I recall correctly. 1 minute. I don't think it's 10 minutes. I'm pretty sure it's 1 minute. So what would happen is the duration is multiplied times the total number of creatures it could have targeted if upcast. So that would mean it would be 3 minutes if you cast it at 3rd level. So it's the total number of creatures it could have targeted. Yeah, this one is for each additional creature it could have targeted. So this one is, the DC only increases by the number over the number of spell slots you upcast it. So like it's a 1st level spell and you upcast it 3, then the difference is 2. So this one only increases the save DC by 2. This one is it multiplies the duration by the number of creatures it could have targeted. So casting Heroism at level 3 triples the duration. Okay, I don't know that that's worth doing it on Heroism. That was just the first spell that came to mind. The other spell that I really wanted to use, what I was thinking with this, was Haste, but Haste can't upcast to target more creatures. So it has to be something that can upcast to target more creatures. All right, moving on. Also at level 3, we have Arcane Savant. This is the Augmenter's version of the School Savant features for the other wizard subclasses. Your magical research yields profound insight. Choose one wizard spell of your choice from any school of magic. The chosen spell must be of a level no higher than 2 and add it to your spellbook for free. In addition, at wizards level 7, 11, and 15, you can add one wizard spell from any school of magic to your spellbook for free. The chosen spell must be of a level for which you have spell slots. So this is similar to those other Savant features, except you get fewer spells, right? This one you're going to get 4 spells to add to your spellbook for free. Other wizards are going to get 9. The other specialist wizards, right? So Bladesinger doesn't get this at all, but the other specialist wizards get this, and they're going to get 9 spells out of their spellbook. You're going to get 4. Okay, which, there needs to be a balance because you can choose any school. The specialist school wizards have to choose their own school. All right, level 6, Adaptive Archive. Your mastery of the magical theory allows you to access spells with unprecedented flexibility. You can cast a wizard spell from your spellbook without having it prepared a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. This is awesome. I feel like the school specialist wizards should have gotten this in exactly the same way. You get to do it a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, except theirs would have been limited to their own school, right? So you're a diviner wizard, and you can that would allow you to cast any divination spell from your spellbook using a spell slot in its normal casting time, intelligence modifier number of times per day. That would have been a great way to make school specialists feel more powerful with their particular school of magic. With most of these schools of magic subclasses, it just doesn't feel like there's enough incentive there for them to be using their school's spells more often. I mean, there's a few little incentives. Some of them have no incentive, which is just a bummer, right? They need lots and lots of incentives, in my opinion, to use their school's spells so that they are not only have that name, oh, I'm a necromancer, but you are using a lot of necromancy spells. You are showing that you are the master of necromancy. Anyway, this is awesome. In addition, when you use your arcane recovery feature, you can recover expended spell slots with a combined level equal to half your wizard level plus your intelligence modifier instead of just half your wizard level. And you also recover one expended arcane mote up to a maximum of 2 motes. So if you already have 2 motes, you're not going to gain another one. If you have 1 mote, you're going to gain 1, and if you up to 2, and if you have 0 motes, you're going to gain 1 up to 1, right? So this is cool. I like, a nice little addition to the level 1 wizard feature, right? Arcane recovery, to make it just a little better for your school. Level 10, spell weaving. You can layer multiple augmentations into a single spell. When you use your arcane augmentation feature, you can apply 2 augmentations to the spell. If you apply expansive casting twice, the chosen dimensions increase by 20. If you apply tactical advantage twice, you can choose 2 different creatures to be affected by the advantage or disadvantage. When applying any other augmentation twice, you must choose 2 different augmentations. Okay, and clearly this is the same construct as Sorcerer's Metamagic, the Sorcerer feature when they get, I can't remember what it's called. They have like a level 14, their level 14 feature or somewhere around there. It's like in tier 3. In tier 3, they get the ability to use 2 metamagic options while their innate sorcery is active. So this is the same construct as that, right? You can use 2, and since it says nothing about the cost, you pay for each one of those separately. You just get to be able to use 2 at a time. All right, so if you're going to use 2 at this level, that means you're going to pay 2 motes. Okay, that's cool. Level 14, superior augmentations. You achieve ultimate control over 1 spell augmentation. When you use your arcane augmentation feature, you can consume 3 arcane motes instead of 1 to apply a superior version of an augmentation. When you do so, you gain the augmentation's normal effect plus a new corresponding secondary effect. A spell can benefit from both a normal augmentation and a superior augmentation, but you cannot apply more than 1 superior augmentation to the same spell. So this means, you could put a regular augmentation and a superior one on it, and if you do that, you're going to pay 4 motes to do that, but you could not put 2 superiors on it. Okay, so this is how you're going to end up spending potentially 4 motes at a time on a spell, which it's kind of spendy, right? You could not do this without at least expending spell slots to also give yourself more motes. But by level 14, you've got a lot of spell slots, and oftentimes I see once you're this level and higher, you're not using a lot of your 2nd level, 3rd level spell slots. So those are prime for you just to convert into more motes, and now you have plenty of motes. Now you could say let's create 1 billion motes. You can dump all your spell slots and create all these motes, but remember when you create motes by expending spell slots, they go away with your next long rest. So it's not like you can just do a bunch and carry them and keep carrying them over. You cannot. Okay, so you wouldn't want to just dump all of your spell slots into motes because that would make you useless because the motes don't do anything except create a little light unless you cast a spell to augment. All right, so it's always a kind of this interesting balance and trade-off with these. All right, so the enhanced effects are expansive casting. When you use expansive casting, you can consume 3 arcane motes instead of 1. When you do so, the chosen dimensions of the spell's area increase by a total of 30 instead of the normal 10 feet. Fundamental Shift, superior. When you use Fundamental Shift, you can consume 3 arcane motes instead of 1. When you do so, the extra damage you add to the spell's damage now also includes your wizard level. So that Fundamental Shift increased the damage by your intelligence modifier, right? Now you're going to add, and it's only to 1 target. Now you're going to add to that 1 target your wizard level. So this would be 14. You now increase the damage of that 1 target by 14 plus your intelligence modifier, which is probably a 5 by now. It should be a 5 by now. So you're looking at 19 extra damage to 1 target. That's pretty cool. That one's beefy. Tactical Advantage superior. When you use Tactical Advantage, you can consume 3 arcane motes instead of 1. When you do so, the affected creature also has advantage or disadvantage, your choice on saving throws, and the effect ends, and the effect's duration is now until the end of your next turn, which means now you could benefit from it, right? So if you hit a creature and cause it disadvantage on its attack rolls and disadvantage on saving throws, the fact that it lasts till the end of your next turn means you could cast a spell on it and it will have disadvantage on that saving throw versus your spell. That one's very beefy as well. Enduring Magic, superior. When you use Enduring Magic, you can consume 3 arcane motes instead of 1. When you do so, whenever you make a Constitution saving throw to maintain concentration on the spell, you gain a bonus to the roll equal to half your wizard level, rounded down. So remember, the regular version of this was your concentration cannot be broken by damage. So, but there are other ways to force you to make concentration saving throws, and if that happens, then you add half your wizard level to the saving throw. So that'd be 7 at this point. And when you're level 20, that's going to add a 10 to it. And remember that the DC of concentration saving throws cannot exceed 30. Yeah, I think that's the cap for all concentration saving throws. I can't remember if it's just for damage caused. I'm pretty sure it's all concentration saving throws. The cap is 30. So adding a +7 to +10 on top of that, on top of what you already have, like you're a wizard, you probably have a +1 and +2 on your Constitution from your Constitution modifier. You should probably have Warcaster for advantage. You should probably at some point get, Resilient Constitution or something like that, so you have proficiency in Constitution saving throws. So at this level, you're looking at what is that, a +5 from your proficiency. Let's call it a +2 from your Constitution, so that's a total of +7. If you don't have, you would have access. I don't know if you're going to use them, but you would have had access to a Cloak of Protection at least by now. So now we're looking at +8 on that saving throw. And then you add half your wizard level. So another +7. So you're looking at +15 on that saving throw. The DC cannot be higher than 30. So even with the worst possible save DC, you're looking at a 50% chance to succeed. Focused Casting Superior. When you use Focused Casting, you can consume 3 arcane motes instead of 1. When you do so, its effects intensify depending on if the target is your enemy or ally. Enemy. The spell's save DC increase no longer has a maximum limit. Furthermore, the target has disadvantage on its first saving throw against the spell. Okay, that is super strong. All right, so there's no longer a maximum limit. So you can cast Tasha's Hideous Laughter with a 5th level spell slot, increasing the save DC by 4, and they have disadvantage. Or you could use an 8th level spell slot, and then they have the spell save DC increases by 7, and they have disadvantage. That's super strong. That's definitely worth 3 motes. It's just super, super important to lock down one target. There you go. If you ever wanted to help your allies crit fish with a hold person, but you always didn't want to, cast it right at that level, or use it because of the chance that they might just succeed instead, and then it's wasted. Blam, do this, cast it at 8th level. They're gonna have the DC is going to be 6 higher, and they're going to have disadvantage on a saving throw versus your hold person. If that's a legendary monster, they're definitely going to burn a legendary resistance on that to save. So maybe wait until you burn through all the resistances before you start using Focused Casting. All right, and if it's an ally, the spell's multiplied duration is doubled after calculating the augmentation's normal effect. Okay, yeah, so with the heroism example I used, if you use a 3rd level spell slot, the duration would have been tripled to 3 minutes, and now it's going to be doubled again on top of that, so 6 minutes. Pretty cool. All right, let's rank this thing. I'm going to give it an A overall, and an A if you dip, do a 3-level dip just to get this, right? Because a lot of the features still, the ability to create motes is by expending spell slots. So if you dip this and then still go with a full caster or anything that gives more spell slots, you're still going to be benefiting from that. And that feature is going to be scaling up with you because you have more spell slots to be expending to create more motes that you're using on other spells. It's going to be an A for ranged because my definition of ranged is really, I just used one word, but it really means single target ranged damage dealer, right? The ability to do a lot of damage to a single target. And the reason why I say it's a single target is because even though you could use Fundamental Shift on a fireball, the extra damage only applies to one target. So this is going to be an A's worth package of single target damage at range. I potentially could use it on melee damage dealing spells as well, but you don't really have anything else here incentivizing you to be in melee. You could build it that way. I'm just not going to rate it that way just to minimize, confusion and visual noise, but you could certainly build it that way. Some sort of melee caster. I would probably multi-class to make that work, but anyway. I'm going to give it a B for blaster, and that's because you still have the ability to, yes, fireball is a great spell, but not when they're immune or resistant. So you can change the damage types to psychic or radiant and still increase the damage to one target, which is useful. Or you can increase the area of the fireball from a 20-foot radius to a 30-foot radius, which is fantastic. Self buff, I'm going to give that one a B for things like the ability to improve your own concentration on your spells, as well as Arcane Savant. You're going to get four extra spells in your spell book. They're going to be an A controller overall, but frankly, when they get this feature at level 14, they're now an S tier controller. But when I give the whole subclass these ratings, I'm averaging out the whole subclass over 20 levels, and so it's kind of like an A plus controller when I average it out over 20 levels. Just know that by this point, you're now, as far as I'm concerned, S tier, right? You could upcast this enough and just basically guarantee this spell is going to land on that one target, and that is a very powerful control effect. Then this one's going to be an A for support, right? They get a number of support features. They can be increasing the duration, more than doubling. They could be multiplying potentially many times the duration of buff spells. They can be giving allies advantage on saving throws and attack rolls at this level, or just advantage on attack rolls at third level. They're a great support character. And here it is in context with every other partner class and subclass I've rated so far, which is 79 of these. We're really getting up there. Boy, if I'd only done core content, I'd be done by now. All right, so here's all of Comrade Warner stuff that I've rated so far. A's across the board, straight A's. Like, this is the sweet spot. You want to be A all the way across. And then also interesting, which I think he does a great job of. So, and if you're interested in getting access to the Google Sheet, the link to it is in the video description. It goes to a Google Drive, and then you can see this spreadsheet in there. There's a few other resources you can use. You're welcome to use all of them. You don't have to sign up for anything to get them. This is a community resource I'm trying to build. And if you're the kind of person who loves thinking about rating and analyzing and comparing things, I would love your help. Either give me comments on this video if you think I got something wrong, and let me know what you think the rating should be instead. Or if you have broader thoughts and want to debate like everything I've covered, fantastic. Join my Discord, which you can also find a link in the video description. And I have a channel in Discord dedicated to discussing ratings and helping me refine and adjust these, right? The more people that get involved, the better this thing gets. So please help. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Remember that D&D is a game, and the only point of it is have fun with your friends. So please be cool when you play D&D. There is no winning the mechanics of D&D. That is a fallacy. If you're playing that way, I think you're playing wrong. Like, it's not called a mechanics game. It's called a role-playing game for a reason, okay? All right, so please be cool and make sure everybody's having fun, not just you, all right? Catch you next time.